Hi, everybody. Welcome today to Downsizing and Decluttering with AARP Maryland. My name is Eleanor Nanquero. I am the staff lead for the Speakers Bureau, and I'm joined here today by Michelle Boucher, who is a volunteer with our Speakers Bureau. She's going to be delivering today's presentation on downsizing and decluttering. You can't take it with you. So we ask that you please write in the chat, let us know where you're joining us from. We'd love to hear from you. And just a few housekeeping things. Should you have a question or a comment, please type that in the chat. And we will try to get your comments and your questions up towards the end of the presentation today. Michelle, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Thank you, Eleanor, and welcome everybody. It is an honor to be here. I'm very excited to share this information. It's a passion of mine. And it's actually Michelle Boucher. So Boucher, whatever you want to say, is I answer to all of it. So that's fine. And I'm very honored to be part of the Maryland AARP Speakers Bureau and address everybody that's on this call. Welcome here. Just a little bit about me as somebody who has dedicated her career to helping seniors age well in the right home, and who has downsized myself twice, and probably have one more ahead of me. This has become a passion of mine. And whether you're planning a move or you just want to age in place more safely, or you're just tired of all the stuff around you that you no longer know that you need, and you want to live in a more simplified environment, you're going to learn some tried and true steps and tips here today that I know that you will find useful. My quick background: I am a senior home coach, a certified senior advisor, an AARP speaker, and a senior real estate specialist with Compass here in Maryland. And I offer, my company Move Forward offers a concierge downsizing and home sale service to seniors and their families who don't want to handle all of the things involved on their own, right? So with that, I want to tell you a little bit about why I do what I do. So these are my parents, Hoppy and Yvonne. This is a picture of them in our home that we grew up in. And our home was cluttered with art. My mother has been doing ceramics and artwork for 60 years. And when I say our home was cluttered, here's a picture of her art studio. This is the living room of their home. That's my son. So she's a ceramic artist. And here's a photo of the actual house. Where you see her there is on the right-hand side with the lower, if you can see the lower level with the windows, that's that room. The 2-car garage you see is closed because if you open it, it's full of greenware. If you know what greenware is, pottery ready to be painted, 3 kilns, and the upstairs that you see there, the windows upstairs, had about 300 molds with a mold pouring station and a pottery wheel. I'm telling you, this house was an art studio, the whole house. And in January of 2025, we lost our home. This home is in Pacific Palisades, California. And that art studio and everything in it ended up burning. My parents got out in time. They're okay. But I share this with you because we didn't have a choice about whether or not we decluttered or downsized them or sold their beautiful artwork or got to take mementos and pieces with us when we left. We lost everything. And so some of the lessons that we have learned is what I'm hoping to help share with you today so that you don't have to make a decision in a crisis about what you're going to do with your things. Because at the end of the day, it's the memory of those things that we really want to preserve. So let's move forward. Our agenda today is to help you gain a general understanding of why our stuff is so important. And it is, I get it, right? And then learn some practical, easy to follow downsizing and decluttering tips. I also want to say that the businesses and the services that we are going to share with you today are really just designed to help you, help guide you. They're not endorsed by AARP, but they are things that we hope you'll find useful. Okay. So King Tut, I think we all know who this gentleman is, and we're going to talk a little more about him later. But type in the chat. Here's what I'd like to know from you. When you think about downsizing and decluttering, like what comes to your mind immediately? Just type in the chat how it makes you feel. What's the first thing that you think of? What are you afraid of? What is that thing for you? Are you happy about it? Are you anxious to get started? Just type in the chat, and we're going to come back to that in just a second. But I do want to make a distinction just for the purpose of our conversation. The difference between downsizing and decluttering. Downsizing is shedding the things that no longer are going to go with you because you're going to be making a move of some kind. Whether you're moving into your kid's home or you're moving to a smaller home, a condo or an apartment, or maybe you're going into assisted living or a retirement community or wherever you're going to go. Downsizing is about distilling down to the essentials of what you need to live your next best life, right? Whatever that looks like. Decluttering is about changing the environment you're in now to better suit your current and future needs, making your home safer so that you can age in place, getting rid of things that hinder your ability to move easily in your home, accommodating for things that you can no longer do or no longer want to do, like stairs and so on. So just making sure you're in a better environment. Eleanor, do we have any responses that folks have shared about what decluttering brings up for them?
We do. We've got several comments here. One of them being someone is anxious about having to sort through their clutter. And the other is picking and choosing what to keep and what to get rid of.
Those are really important. And we're going to talk more about both of those. So I know that you'll get some good pointers in this conversation. And thank you for sharing that stuff. So I'd like you to consider reframing the thought of anything you might feel anxious about losing or getting rid of, and just kind of replace it with gaining freedom, right? We're going to gain independence. We're going to gain safety. We're going to reduce stress, not just for you, but for your family. So let me give you a quick overview of where we're at and why this is important. So this may be the very last time in history that we will have 4 generations alive at the same time. According to the US Census, 15% of America is over 65 right now. In February, I will be too. And in 40 years, 33%, a third of America will be over 65. How many people are what's our population number? Does anybody know? Type it in the chat if you know how many people are in the country. A third of those people are going to be over 65. And the 2 oldest generations have the most stuff, right? Gen X, which I'm on the very tail end of. I'm sorry, baby boomers on the very tail end of, and Gen X has their own stuff, but the silent generation, right? So we're distinctly different though, because the 2 oldest generations, silent and baby boomers, we value things like durability, sacrifice, memories, the hard work it took to accumulate the things we have. Some of us are coming from a generation of poverty with the Great Depression. We still have memories of World War II, etc. So we look at things very differently. The younger generation, however, values experiences, simplicity, flexibility. They want to travel. They rent for a lot longer. The average age of a first-time homeowner has gone from 38 to 42. So they're renting for a number of reasons. And families often, they want stories, not storage units, right? So this mismatch can cause a lot of guilt and a lot of stalled decisions. And so having conversations early on with those that are involved in the decisions that you're making is really important. None of us really want to be a burden to their kids, but let me share a story about my aunt, my mother's sister. So after the fire, we got a rental condo for my parents, which was fine, but it wasn't ideal for them. My mother's sister's home didn't burn, but it was damaged in the fire. And when it was remediated, they all moved back in it, right? My mom's sister, who's 96, my mother, who's 87, my dad, who's 98, and my parents' caregiver, Yvain, God bless him. He's like one of our family. They all moved in to her sister's home. Her sister's home had just cabinets full of crystal and collections and things on every surface had things on it, picture frames and everything. And I asked if I could move some of these things so that my dad's wheelchair could be more accommodated going through the hallways. And she came apart. You can't touch my things. Nothing can be moved. I have to keep everything. I don't want to get rid of anything. These mean too much to me. And unfortunately, her reluctance to do that, which is her choice, means that, and she said to us, my kids can deal with this when I'm gone. I'm not giving up anything. So have you been through what we went through? Your kids dealing with it when you're gone is, well, I wouldn't think that anybody would think that that was a fair thing to do. So here's one easy step. You could ask a family member about creative ways to honor the memory of that home. What are some things that they may want now? We're going to talk about this in a minute too, about, mementos and things. But what are some ways that would be meaningful to the ones that you love that would honor the memories of that home? I'm going to share a few interesting numbers. So the Federal Reserve data shows that 50% of baby boomers and silent generation own 50% of the residential real estate in this country. They own half of it. And according to AARP's 2024 Home and Community Preference Survey, 75% of adults 50 plus want to age in place, right? We don't want to move. And I think it's higher than that. I think it's really closer to 90%. We all want to stay in our home and be carried out feet first, right? And the thing is that according to Freddie Mac, less than 1% of US housing stock is actually designed for aging in place. It's called universal design that accommodates all ages and stages. And about 33% of home owners report that they would need to make major modifications in order to be able to age independently in their home. And then finally, and this was shocking, that a review of U.S. emergency department visits for people age 65 and older found that 79.2% of fall-related emergency room visits occurred in the home. That's staggering. So why does all this matter? Well, the number one thing that impedes people from leaving their home or aging in place safely or getting health care into their home is what? Can you guys just type in the chat what you think that might be? I know we know what it is, right? Eleanor, has anybody guessed? I think
anxiety, comfort, familiarity.
Yes, all those things are important, but they're not number one. Number one is our stuff, what to do with it, right? Just the sheer volume of it. That is the number one thing that keeps people in their homes longer than necessary. Because our past,
lack of availability.
Lack of availability is a real thing. Oh, believe me, as a real estate agent, I can tell you, lack of availability is a real thing. And that's why, right? We just saw why. Because all of those homes are being lived in for a lot longer than they were designed to be. And a lot of people still have 2.5% interest rates, so to give those things up, that's a whole nother presentation and conversation, but that is a very important reason. But our past also creates those emotional bonds. And to your point of anxiety and fear, pride, sentimentality, sadness around letting go of things, the love that you have for those precious things and your home, happiness, fear, it's all part of it, right? And also, and this is important because a lot of us don't realize that grief sets in. what I mean by grief is the grief over maybe what you thought you might be or do when you look at all the things in your home that you didn't, right? The things you thought you might accomplish or that you might use or places you might have gone. I know for my husband, it was hard for him to give up his camping gear. And I told him 20 years ago, we're not going camping again. Well, he didn't know he wasn't going camping again. So he held on to it for a long time because he just didn't want to give up that part of his life that meant so much to him. But grief is a real thing, and it takes so many different forms. Grief of the loss of a loved one whose clothes still hang in your closet, whose pillow still smells like them. That's a real thing, and those need to be honored. So processing all of this does take time. Nobody is telling you you have a specific deadline or timeline right now, right? And so we can give it the proper respect that it requires in order for us to actually process through all of these things. So there are specific barriers, some of which we've already mentioned, but I want to put these out in front of you because I want to see, I'm going to ask you as we go through these to type in the chat the numbers that correlate to what rings true for you. Okay. So these are as written by my friend Kathy Vines, who wrote the book, A Clever Girl's Guide to Living with Less. Number one, guilt. I feel guilty letting go of this, right? I know that for me, there's a few things like that. Sunk cost. I paid good money for this. Oh my gosh, I can hear my aunt that I just told you about. Literally those words came out. I paid good money for this, as she's talked about clothing in her closet she's bought, 30 years ago that she doesn't wear anymore. Recouping the cost. I could sell this. It's worth something. It very well could be. And we're going to talk about selling things a little later. But it causes you to hold on to things a lot longer just because you think you might sell it. This is a good one. Purposeless practicality, right? This is still good. So my mother-in-law comes to mind for me on this one because in her home of 40 years, she had a big kitchen with a big island, with a big cabinet in the island, with a big drawer in that cabinet full of Tupperware, full of storage containers that she had collected because they're still good, right? There must have been, I don't know, 200 of them in there, every shape and size, everything that something came in she could reuse, she would. Again, that's that Depression era mentality of having lack growing up. A future fear. I might need it someday. How many of you can relate to that? I might need it someday. I don't want to have to buy it again, so I think I'm going to keep it. Sentimentality. This is a tough one for me. It reminds me of a time, or if it reminds me of somebody. And I would just position this question about sentimentality when it comes to things. The items themselves are not sentimental. People are sentimental, right? We are sentimental. And the item is a reminder of those feelings. So it is important to honor that, find a way to honor that. Perceived value to somebody else. I could give this as a gift. I want it to go to somebody who will appreciate it the way that I did. Or my kids will want this. How many of you put in the chat, how many of your kids want your stuff? I'm just curious. Or if they do, they don't want much of it, right? I had a client whose daughter was a prolific equestrian. This girl, she rode horses her whole life. And in the basement of her mother's home was a room dedicated to all of her awards, her blue ribbons, her trophies, pictures of her on her horse. It was a spectacular display. And in order for her mother to be able to let go of those things, she wanted to give them to her daughter. Well, guess what? Her daughter, she didn't want them. She'd already been there and done that. They didn't hold the same meaning for her that they held for her mom. So what we did instead was we took a picture of it, framed that picture, and put it on the wall. And she took that with her. And she let go of all of the physical pieces by honoring her memory that way. I want to dispose of it safely and smartly. I don't want it to go to a landfill, or I don't know how to get rid of this safely, so I'll just hold on to it. Okay, that's a good reason. So what of these things really resonated? Eleanor, how many people have put anything in the chat? What's really resonated with some folks?
It looks like folks have put in the chat 7, 8, 5, 6, 7, 8.
5, 6, 7, and 8. Yep.
5 and 7.
Uh-huh.
6 and 7. 6,
Yeah.
7, 8. So all over the place.
Yeah, these are all valid. Every single one of these is totally valid. It's a barrier for sure. But here's the other part of this. You have already received the full blessing and value of it during the time that you have owned it. So I want you to kind of just sit with that for a moment, right? We've already received everything that thing was intended to do for us if it no longer serves us in our future life. So let's get into what to do with the things that you really do want to get rid of. Okay, so we're going to do some top 10 tips and how to get rid of these things. So Dana K. White, my friend Dana K. White, wrote a book called Decluttering at the Speed of Life. And her number one tip is start with the trash. We all know what we consider trash, right? It may not be garbage per se, like a wrapper or something, but things that we no longer need and we don't want to donate. We just know it's going in the garbage. So one of my dear clients had a very, very large house here, 10,000 square feet, that they raised their kids in over 40 years. And it had a lot of rooms. And so she did the black bag trick, which was she bought a box of black bags. She took them into the room with her, pulled out a black bag, and everything that went in that black bag never came back out. That was the commitment she made to herself. And she literally went room by room. It took us 4 months to clear her house, but she did it. This was her first step, right? Just start with the trash because it's easy and you can actually make progress. And it feels really good when you make progress, even in just one room. Include everybody, whether they're in your house or in your life, right? Bring the kids in, the grandkids, your spouse, maybe your friends, your neighbors, whomever it is, bring them in and let them help you. So I'm interested to know, type in the chat, how long you've owned your home. How many years have you owned your home? Just put in the chat there. Eleanor, what do we have?
14 years, 43 years, 9 months.
Okay. 9 months in downsizing. I applaud you. I applaud you. Nothing
28,
like
yeah, 28 years.
Yeah. Lifetime. A lot of years, 40 plus years. So, but this brings up an interesting point, because whether you've just recently moved into your home and nothing helps you downsize like a move, right? Even if you take every single thing with you, you don't take every single thing out of the box, believe me. So you really realize quickly what you don't need anymore. But look, what is a reasonable amount of time that you think it should take you to declutter a home? Type that in the chat. How long do you think it will take you or it should take you? Just interesting question. Let's move on for now. So here's another easy one. The 10-minute sweep, right? So this is the best way to get a single room clean, even if you have to do more than 10 minutes. There's more than 10 minutes at work in every room of my house. I can tell you that right now. But instead of looking at the room as in its entirety and then walking in, looking at it, turn around, closing the door and going, I don't have time for this. I don't. Just take a little 2x2 section of it, or a portion of it, maybe a closet or one dresser, nightstand, what have you, and just do that. Because really, it's about the elephant. How do you eat an elephant? A bite at a time. It can just take you 10 minutes. Not more than 10 minutes, not less than 10 minutes. You can put a timer on your phone and just do 10 minutes and you will make progress. And so if you do this every night, either before you go to bed or instead of watching TV, or in the morning when you're fresh and you feel like you have some energy, or catch a minute anytime during your day. It's one small way to make some good progress. Also, every item has to have a home. One of the other concepts in downsizing at the speed of life that I love to share is that Dana talks about the concept of containers. If you look at everything in your house as a container, a drawer is a container, a closet is a container, a box is a container, a shelf is a container, your home is a container. And you let the container make the decision for you. When something doesn't fit in a container any longer, it can't go in there anymore, right? So if you're keeping, my husband has 7 sets of tongs in the kitchen. We have had a fight over this. 7 sets of tongs. I took 4 of them and put them away to see if he really needed 7. He went and found them and brought them back. Okay. As long as they fit in that drawer that they belong in, that's the container for the tongs. An 8th pair of tongs will not fit, so it's not going in. So the container method for every item has a home is a great way to force yourself to let the container make the decision instead of you. Okay. For the 4-pile sort, this is really effective. So you have a keep, a sell, a donate, and a trash pile. Hopefully your trash pile has already been worked on, but it will come back. So this is an easy way to sort a space at a time, a shelf at a time. I just did this with one shelf in my house, full of pictures and photographs and things. So a keep, a sell, a donate, a trash. That makes it really easy. And there was a TV show, I can't recall the name of it at the moment, and this is how they did the decluttering at the TV show. And they would pull everything out and put it on the grass in front of the house on 4 blankets. There was a keep blanket, a sell blanket, a donate blanket. If you remember the name of the show, type it in the chat, and a trash blanket. And they made the homeowner go through every single thing and put them on these different blankets. And that's how they cleaned this house up. And I think it was Niecy Nash, maybe was her show. Anyway, I don't remember. Okay, distribute legacy items now. This is a really good one, you guys. I have my grandmother's china. How many of you have your grandmother's china? Or silverware? What things do you have from generations before that you?
Looks like a lot of folks.
Yeah, tell me, read them to me. I want to hear.
Grandparents, great grandparents,
Great grandparents, yes.
And
I bet they're beautiful.
Parents.
Yeah,
lots of parents.
And I bet that china set is beautiful and complete and serves 12 or 14 people. Mm-hmm. And you have every single piece, every charger, every soup tureen. I know. I have my grandmother's too, and it is stunning. And if you go to replacements.com and look to replace a piece of that stuff, it's a fortune. I think a dish is like $80 for the set my grandmother has. And if you try to sell them your china, they don't want it. They're not going to pay you for it. So distribute those items now. Now, do our kids want all of this stuff? Maybe. They might just want one piece or one set, to keep for display purposes. But whatever it is, whether it's china or things that are sentimental to you that, you grew up with, that your kids really want, bring them in now, have them take it now. My mother-in-law just emailed me and said, hey, do you want this Christmas, oh, my brain, the Christmas tablecloth that you gave us 10 years ago, because we don't serve people anymore and we don't want it. And she's trying to give it back to me. I'm like, no, I don't want it. So I said, bless somebody else with it, just donate it, but get it out now. And the reason she called me on that was for this reason. So my mother-in-law, again, the one that had the big kitchen and all of that, it took her 4 years to downsize. She did it all herself. 4 years. They knew they were moving to a retirement community and that they were building the retirement community to be ready in 3 years. So she started yard saling, donating to the church, et cetera, et cetera. And one of the things she did was she went through her house. She took a photo of every single thing in her home of value and printed out the pictures, put them in a photo album, and sent that photo album around to all her kids and grandkids to initial the things they wanted before she got rid of them. Now, my mother-in-law is an overachiever, granted, she really is. But it allowed us, especially because a lot of us don't live in the same state as her, to pick and choose the things that were meaningful to us. Well, it came back to her, and surprise, surprise, there was, I don't know, maybe 15 or 20 things that people had picked out of hundreds of items that she had painstakingly sent out. So for the most part, we didn't really want a lot of the things that she had. But it gave the family the opportunity to chime in and say, hey, that really means something to me. I'd like to have that. Avoid punting. Avoid punting where you, it's when you're convinced that the next generation, when you convince them into taking an item later, right? So you may not want this now, but you may want it later. So I'm going to hold on to it for you, like a piece of furniture. Go back to the guilt thing, right? I just can't bring myself to get rid of it now. And you may never actually have wanted it, and we've kept it out of obligation to something else, right? Somebody gave it to us and we would feel terrible if we got rid of it because it might hurt their feelings. But would they really want you to keep something that wasn't making you happy or didn't serve you the way they had intended? I don't think they really would. So if the person says they don't want it, they don't want it. Don't keep it for them because they think they might change their mind. I'm doing this with my son right now. It's really hard not to save things for him, like his stuff went from when he was a kid because he's 24. And I'm thinking when you're 40 and you have your own little kid, you're going to want, well, he probably won't. So, okay, donate, 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 donate. I want to just share with you, I had a client who I adore. I love my client so much, who called me. Her son called me and said, we got to get this house sold. It was a 55 plus villa that she'd owned for 20 years, actually. So she was now at a point in her life where she was moving in with her son, her younger son, because she couldn't live on her own anymore. And she had moved out of this home 2 years ago. And this home sat there for 2 years with nothing changed. Nothing was moved. There was food in the fridge. Her kids would use it to stay in when they would come to visit. But she just couldn't bring herself to get it all done. And she didn't know, her kids are busy. They have their own lives. So there was no one there to really manage the process. So when they found me, this is exactly what I did. And what she wanted was she wanted everything to go to use. She didn't want anything in the landfill. So I called Habitat for Humanity. And I think we all have them in our communities. Just type in the chat if you have a Habitat for Humanity in your community. And a Restore, right? Restore is their resale store. Habitat took every single thing in her home, everything, the clothing, the linens, the silverware, the dishes, the furniture, the sheets, the artwork, the bathroom cleaners. They took everything. The only thing they will not take is mattresses, alcohol. I can handle that for her. Food and baby cribs and car seats. So, and there are many, many, many places we can donate things, right? There are places that will take hospital beds and will take walkers and medical equipment and repurpose them. There's veterans places that will take things for veterans. There are all kinds of places to donate. So we donated almost every single thing in her home and finally got it cleaned out and got it sold for her. It took about 60 days from start to finish. But imagine sitting for 2 years empty because you don't really have the wherewithal or the heart to do it yourself. So donation is a big deal, and you can start small with this too. You can donate technology. There's something called Tech for Troops, Catholic Charities, Dress for Success for clothing. You can be very intentional about this if you do this ahead of time. Okay, so be realistic about clothing and food. Oftentimes it's hard to be realistic about this. Again, going back to my aunt, she had 3 closets packed with clothing she couldn't wear anymore and complained that she didn't have any closet space, but yet you could not rip those clothes out of her closet for anything because she still It meant something to her. So, but here, let's get real. Not everybody's like that. So they say to keep 2 to 3 sizes of things, right? We know we go up and down perhaps. But if you're like me and I have size 6s all the way to size 16s in my closet, which I am now going through and getting rid of because I ain't either one of those anymore, thankfully. It's time to let them go. And I have some beautiful things, right? But there is a resale store that will take them all. So going through the clothing of things you're not going to wear, you haven't worn in more than a year or 2 years, if you want to be generous, pack it up and bless somebody else with it. And then food, right? Food is the same way. If you haven't gone through your food lately, your pantry for the expireds and for things you really don't eat and can donate, this is a good time to do it. It's great to get your kids or grandkids involved in this. My son did this at my mother's house before a long time ago. He went through, we were all eating dinner. He went through her cabinets to see the oldest thing he could find. And he found a can of coffee from 1984. This was not 1984. I think we were there in 2012 or 13 when we did this. So there are things we know that you don't need anymore in your pantry. Donate them to food shelters, etc., or just get rid of them. Okay, this is probably a thing for a lot of people, right? Paperwork. Paper's tough because you don't want to miss something important. And especially if you're like me and you're not organized with paperwork or you don't have somebody in your home who's organized. My mother throws nothing away but can't find anything. How many people can relate to that? Just put it in the chat there. Come on, fess up. We know. I am like that. I don't throw anything away, but I don't really have a good my brain is not an organized brain. My husband, thankfully, is more than me. But going through what you can, old mail, shred old documents, or throw them in a bag until your community shred day comes along. Probably the hardest thing is photographs. When we lost our home, we lost many, many, many photographs. And my sisters and I all live on the East Coast, and we have books of photographs. Because remember when you used to actually get photos printed and put them in actual albums like that you could open? Yeah. So unbeknownst to us, a cousin of mine whose home also was damaged in the fire had scanned a lot of the photos that my mother had, because this is my mother's sister's son. And we didn't know this, but he had pictures from my father when they were married, my mom and dad when they were dating, him in the military, us as kids, et cetera, et cetera. He put them into an electronic album, which is easy to do these days. And he sent the album to my mom and dad and to us girls. And I will tell you that album was more beloved and sacred and appreciated than having all of those boxes and boxes and boxes of pictures that we couldn't possibly go through again, because it told the story sufficiently where we were able to keep the memory, right? And those memories are just so very important to us. Okay, let's talk about selling things. How many of you want to have a yard sale? Just put in the chat. We probably have all done it at some point in time. But if you're planning to have a yard sale this year, just put it in the chat if that's something that's on your menu. A couple of months when the weather changes over, great idea. Schlep that stuff out there. Let your neighbors come by. Somebody's junk is somebody else's brand new thing. But here's the thing about yard sales. You've got to have a plan for the stuff that doesn't sell, because it's not going back in your house. If it goes out to the curb, if it goes out in your front yard, it does not come back to your house. So that's when you call Habitat or whomever else you're going to have come and pick up the rest for donation. So just if you're going to do this, have a plan for the after, okay? Because it is not going back in your home. It came out for a reason. You get what you get for it. It may be enough to offset the cost of having somebody come to haul it away. There may or may not be a fee for that, right? There's also online auctions. There are consignment stores. We know kind of all of the outlets. Getting these things done takes time. So if you have the time and the desire, these are really good ideas. if you don't want people coming through your house on an estate sale, most companies are now doing online auctions, and they all start your items at $1. And they do that because that's how everything gets sold. They'll sell through 95% of your items. Now, that doesn't mean they sell for that, but they are expert at online auctions. Max Sold comes to mind, Everything But the House. There's all kinds of different sold. Here we have General Transitions. We have auction houses. So just take a look at doing online auctions. They will come out, photograph everything, put it on the internet, price it, take care of getting the money. All you have to do is set up a buyer pickup day, right? No one's shipping anything. You just set the stuff out either in your garage, if you have a garage, or a specific place in your home on a specific date, and the buyers come and pick stuff up. Okay. And lastly, as we talked about before, honoring memories of the things that you can't take with you, but you never want to forget. So, does anybody have any thoughts about any of the tips we've shared or the ideas we've shared here that you might be able to implement right away? Was there anything that kind of rang true for you that you think, you know what, I'm going to actually do that? Okay.
Looks like we got a comment that says we just had an antique store owner come to my in-laws and buy stuff on the spot.
Yes, Christy, yes. Pickers, antique store owners, auction houses, they will come over, but what they're going to do is cherry pick. So they're going to buy the stuff they know they can sell for a profit. I had a client, the one that had the 10,000 square foot home, she collected Yadros. Does anyone know what a Yadro is? It's like a Hummel, right? These figurines. I don't particularly personally understand the fascination with buying figurines, but I get it. She had 3,000 of them, 3,000, and the boxes. I brought my picker in, Eddie, and Eddie went through her house and he picked only the ones that had the highest value and a bunch of other things that he knew he could resell quickly, paid her cash on the spot, and left. Now we've got to get rid of 2,996 Yadros. So who wants those things? So collectors are out there. There are people that sell on eBay. There are other Yadro lovers, right? But that mechanism of how to get that done, that's where time is on your side if you've got it, to find the right people to do that. So yes, call those folks. And you know what's an easy way to do is go up on eBay and look for the things you have and see what they have sold for, not what they're selling for, but look at what's sold and the prices that they're getting. And if that's something that's in your wherewithal to do, that's a great way of determining who's buying these things and what they're paying for them. Does anyone else have any other comments they'd like to share or ask before we wrap up?
Doesn't look like it.
Yeah. So while you're thinking about that, we're going back to King Tut, and you probably are familiar with the fact that when they found his tomb, they found all kind of stuff. He was trying to take it with him, right? And this is a picture of some of the things that they found in his tomb. And it's, I think it filled, 10 museums or something like that. I cannot imagine being the people that had to dig the space out, that had to bring the stuff down to put down there. It wasn't going anywhere, right? So we can't take it with us, but we can certainly bless others. And think about how you will feel when this is done. I'll leave you with this. Trying to do something like this in a crisis is not the time you want to be dealing with it. While most people will never experience anything like what we went through, thank God, you will come to a point in time where something's going to change. You can't do the stairs anymore. You don't want to, or there's a diagnosis, or somebody is their mobility is changing, or maybe they are having memory or cognitive issues. So something is going to change. It's going to force your focus elsewhere. Having a house full of things that are holding you back from being able to honor your next chapter in your life We want you to do this now with information, answers, and a plan so you can make a move forward on your terms and timeline. And with that, thank you very much for sitting in today. And I hope that this has been helpful for you.